Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Shabbat Paramahansa Parivadikacharya Srila Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Prabhupada Srila Paramahansa Parivadikacharya Srila Shri Srimad Gaur Kishore Das Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Gauri Vaishnava ki jai. Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Vedanta Shri Vasi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Hare Krishna Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Mathura Dham ki jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Purushottam Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Ganga Maya Vallabha Bhakti Devi ki jai. Srimati Tulsi Maharani ki jai. Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanande. All glories to some devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to some devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to some devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the Guru Guranga, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Jai. Hari. We missed good, yeah.
We met Prabhu. We met where in Ghana, Lagos, Mayapur. I went to Lagos one time. Yeah. There was a big traffic jam there. The biggest traffic jam I ever seen. 5-hour traffic jam. Yeah. And once you're in the traffic jam, these guys, they come and sell you anything. They come and sell everything once you're stuck there. And you know, this guy was selling tomatoes. They were the best tomatoes I ever tasted in my life. So sweet, beautiful tomatoes. Really? I would remember those tomatoes. Most of the fruits are just organic. Yeah, and who knows what they put on. But the only way to get around is by boda boda, this motorbike. If you get a motorbike, you go through the traffic. So which verse?
So, Canto 1, Chapter 7. Text.
Canto 1.
Chapter 7. You can text 11.
Canto 1, Chapter 7.
Text 11.
11. So this chapter is called, we're going to find out soon. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
1:7.
Son of Drona punished. I'm going to revise it as a bit. And read the translations from text 1. The son of Drona punished. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Rishi Sonaka asked, O Sutta, the great and transcendently powerful Vyasadeva heard everything from Sri Narada Muni. So after Narada's departure, what did Vyasadeva do? Verse 2. Sri Sutta said, on the western bank of the river Saraswati, which is intimately related with the Vedas, there is a cottage for meditation at Samyaprasha, which enlivens the transcendental activities of the sages. Text 3. In that place, Srila Vyasadeva, in his own ashram, which was surrounded by berry trees, sat down to meditate after touching water for purification. Text 4. Thus, he fixed his mind, perfectly engaging it by linking it in devotional service, bhakti yoga, without any tinge of materialism. And thus he saw the absolute personality of Godhead, along with his external energy, which was under full control. Just revising the previous verses. Text 5. Due to this external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks of himself as a material product and thus undergoes reactions of material miseries. Wow. I will explain it. Text 6. No, on purpose. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. Anata Pashamam Chakchari Bhakti Yoga Madhurtsati Lakasya Jana Vidvams Chakri Savati Samhita. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature which is in relation to the Supreme Truth. Text 7. Simply by giving oral perception to the Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. Yeah. Coming up, text 8. Next. Text 8. The great sage Vyasadeva, after compiling Srimad Bhagavatam and revising it, taught it to his own son, Sri Shukadeva Goswami, who was already engaged in self-realization. Text 9. Shonaka Uvacha, Shonaka said, Sri Shonaka asked Shukadeva Goswami, Sri Shukadeva Goswami was already on the path of self-realization, and thus he was pleased with his own self. So why did he take the trouble to undergo the study of such a vast literature? Text 10. Shukadeva Goswami said, all different varieties of art maramas, those who take pleasure in the Atma or spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls. This is the famous Amaramavat. Amaramas Chamunayo Nigranta Apirukrame Devan Yahaitakim Hakim Itim Bhuta Vinavaya. Okay, now we're doing in the 11. There's a long purport here. Section. Jaya Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhara
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Vrinda Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrinda Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrinda Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrinda Ranjana Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana
Hare Krishna Gopinath, Shyamakun Govardhana Ki, Sura Vrindavan Ki, Deep Mahaprabhu Ki, Jai Ki, Shri Radha Damodar, Tam Columbus Ki, Yamuna Maya Ganga Maya Ki, Shri
Scioto River.
Sayova, Sayocho Maya Ki,
Jai.
Tulsi Devi Ki,
Jai.
Sayocho is female or what?
It's Native American.
Huh?
What's that? It's a tribe name.
The Indians, they were female names or male names?
Male, I think.
And Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki,
Jai.
Bhakti Devi Ki,
Jai.
Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki,
Jai.
Mahamantra Ki,
Jai.
Transcendental Book Distribution Ki,
Jai.
Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki,
Jai.
Transcendental Cow Protection Ki,
Jai.
Swami Bhaktivinoda Ki,
Jai.
Gopamanandi,
Hare
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare
Krishna.
Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
You came to what's Hitchcock Hall?
Yes.
Hitchcock.
You came here?
Yes.
This room?
No.
It's Hitchcock Hall. Hitchcock Hall is like
A mile away from here.
Yeah.
But where did he stay?
He stayed on 13th Avenue. This is 8th Avenue.
Because you know the house?
Yes, we went there last year.
Yeah.
We can go there.
I went to some of the Rai Ram showed me some of the places in New York where Prabhupada stayed. It's very nice. Okay. We've done our Namo Bhagavate, so we don't have to do it again. Hare
Hare
Guna Shipta
Gunakshipta
Matir
Matir
Bhagavan
Bhagavan
Badarayani
Badarayani
Adyagan Mahad
Mahad
Akyanam
Akyanam
Nityam
Nityam
Vishnu Jana Priyaha
Vishnu Jana Priyaha
Hare Gunakshipta Matir
Hare Gunakshipta Matir
Bhagavan Badarayani
Bhagavan Badarayani
Adyagan Mahad Akyanam
Adyagan Mahadakyanam
Nityam Vishnu Jana Priyaha
Nityam Vishnu Jana Priyaha
Hare Gunakshipa Hare Gunakshipta Matir
Hare Gunakshipta Matir
Bhagavan Badarayani
Bhagavan Badarayani
Adyagan Mahad Akyanam
Adyagan Mahadakyanam
Nityam Vishnu Jana Priyaha
Nityam Vishnu Jana Priyaha Hare Gunakshipta Matir
Hare Gunakshipta Matir
Bhagavan Badarayani
Bhagavan Badarayani
Adyagan Mahad Akyanam
Adyagan Mahad Akyanam
Nityam Vishnu Jana Priyaha
Nityam Vishnu Jana Priyaha
Hare Gunakshipta Matir
Hare Gunakshipta Matir
Bhagavan Badarayani
Bhagavan Badarayani
Adyagan Mat Akyanam
Adyagan Mahad Akyanam
Nityam Vishnu Jana Priyaha
Nityam Vishnu Jana Priyaha Hare Gunakshipta Matir
Hare Gunakshipta Matir
Bhagavan Badarayani
Bhagavan Badarayani
Adyagan Mahad Akyanam
Adyagan Mahad Akyanam
Nityam Vishnu Jana Priyaha
Nityam Vishnu Jana Priyaha. Ladies.
Hare Gunakshipta Matir
Bhagavan Badarayani
Adyagan Maharajanam Nityam Vishnu Jana Priyaha Hare Gunakshita Mate Bhagavan Badarayani Adyagan Maharajanam Nityam Vishnu Jana Priyaha.
Thank you. Hare.
Hare
Of Hare,
Hare,
the personality of Godhead.
the personality of Godhead.
Guna,
Guna,
transcendental attributes.
transcendental attributes.
Akshipta,
Akshipta,
being absorbed in.
being absorbed in.
Matihi,
Matihi,
mind.
mind.
Bhagavan,
Bhagavan,
powerful.
powerful.
Badarayanihi,
Badarayanihi,
the son of Vyasadeva.
the son of Vyasadeva.
Ajagat,
Adyagat
underwent studies.
underwent studies.
Mahat,
Mahad,
great.
great.
Akhyanam,
Akhyanam,
narration.
narration.
Nityam,
Nityam,
regularly.
regularly.
Vishnu Jana,
Vishnu Jana,
devotees of the Lord.
devotees of the Lord.
Priyaha,
Priyaha,
beloved.
beloved.
Translation and purport, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Srila Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Srila Vyasadeva, was not only transcendently powerful, he was also very dear to the devotees of the Lord. Thus he underwent the study of his great narration. Srimad Bhagavatam. Please repeat. Srila Sukadeva Goswami,
Srila Sukadeva Goswami,
son of Srila Vyasadeva,
son of Srila Vyasadeva,
was not only transcendently powerful,
was not only transcendently powerful,
he was also very dear
he was also very dear
to the devotees of the Lord.
to the devotees of the Lord.
Thus he underwent the study of this great narration,
Thus,
Srimad Bhagavatam.
thus he underwent the study of this great narration, Srimad Bhagavatam.
Purport. According to Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Srila Sukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul even within the womb of his mother. Srila Vyasadeva knew that the child after his birth would not stay at home. Therefore he, Vyasadeva, impressed upon him the synopsis of the Bhagavatam, so that the child could be made attached to the transcendental activities of the Lord. After his birth, the child was still more educated in the subject of the Bhagavatam by recitation of the actual poems. The idea is that generally the liberated souls are attached to the feature of impersonal Brahman with a monistic view of becoming one with the Supreme Whole. But by the association of pure devotees like Vyasadeva, even the liberated soul becomes attracted to the transcendental qualities of the Lord. By the mercy of Sri Narada, Srila Vyasadeva was able to narrate the great epic of Srimad Bhagavatam. And by the mercy of Vyasadeva, Srila Sukadeva Goswami was able to grasp the import. The transcendental qualities of the Lord are so attractive that Srila Sukadeva Goswami became detached from being completely absorbed in impersonal Brahman and positively took up the personal activities of the Lord. Practically, he was thrown from the impersonal conception of the Absolute, thinking within himself that he had simply wasted so much time in devoting himself to the impersonal feature of the Supreme. Or in other words, he realized more transcendental bliss with the personal feature than the impersonal. And from that time, not only did he himself become very dear to the Vishnu Janas, or the devotees of the Lord, but also the Vishnu Janas became very dear to him. The devotees of the Lord who do not wish to kill the The devotees of the Lord who do not wish to kill the individuality of the living entities and who desire to become personal servitors of the Lord do not very much like the impersonalists. Similarly, the impersonalists who desire to become one with the Supreme are unable to evaluate the devotees of the Lord. Thus, from time immemorial, these two transcendental pilgrims have sometimes been competitors. In other words, each of them likes to keep separate from the other because of the ultimate personal and impersonal realizations. Therefore, it appears that Srila Sukadeva Goswami also had no liking for the devotees. But since he himself became a saturated devotee, he desired always to the transcendental association of the Vishnu Janas. And the Vishnu Janas also liked his association since he became a personal Bhagavata. Thus, both the son and the father were completely cognizant of transcendental knowledge in Brahman. And afterwards, both of them became absorbed in the personal features of the Supreme Lord. The question as to how Shukadeva Goswami was attracted by the narration of the Bhagavatam is thus completely answered by this sloka. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Hare Gunakshita Matir Bhagavan Padarayanihi Ajagan Mad Akyanam Nityam Vishnu Jana Priya. Srila Shukadeva Goswami, son of Srila Vyasadeva, was not only transcendently powerful, he was also very dear to the devotees of the Lord. Thus he underwent the study of this great narration. Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshuru Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mahavishnu Savitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Radhishva Padantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Rama. Glories to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years together. Thus the fire of conditional life, repeated birth and death is extinguished. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at last, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It's the life of all transcendental knowledge, increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Yeah. So the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya, one time, he's giving us a taste of the nectar for which we are always anxious. And how is he giving the taste? Because it's personal. The holy name is personal. It's a very confidential name of the Lord. So it gives a very sweet taste, which we've never tasted before. Especially if we're like most of us, we have an impersonal concept of God, or a very vague concept of God. It's like Islam or the Torah, Jewish, or the Christian. Very vague. Could it even be impersonal? I was brought up in a Christian family, and now they interpret, the Father and Son are the same, are one. The Trinity, Holy Spirit, God the Father and the Son is all one. But how can the Father and the Son be completely one? Because they're different conceptions, the Father and the Son. Because in Christianity and Islam, they don't like the idea of the Father. No personalization at all. No form. Although the mosques are so beautiful. The big mosque in Abu Dhabi. Can't believe how beautiful the architecture. So why make a big, beautiful building for something impersonal, formless? There's contradiction. And the Son sits at the Father sits at the right hand of the Father. So the right hand, something impersonal. So there's contradiction, lack of knowledge. Prabhupada was saying in Geneva, it was very interesting actually. I was hearing this morning in the morning walk. We're saying, yes, we like to cooperate with those who believe in God. Like to cooperate with those who believe in God. But unfortunately, they don't know who is God, his form, his qualities, pastimes. So they're definitely, Yetam Mampapajite, Tamstataiva Bajanya, Mama Manupasante, Manushya Pasa Shavish. Everyone Krishna follows my path in all respects. Krishna says, Yetam Mampapajite, Tamstataiva Bajanya, Mama Manupasante, Mama Manupasante, Manushya Pasa. But okay, so if everyone's following their paths to God, in Vivekananda used to say, Matapat, Tatapat, so many paths they lead. And there's so many groups, you can mention them, Marishogi, Satyasai, and so many others. They say there's new religions are invented every day, every week. Because there are so many paths. But Prabhupada said, but when we tell them that, well, here is God, Krishna. You want to know you believe in God? Yes, that's nice. Here he is. No. Excuse me. No. We are at an ecumenical meeting here. We respect one another, but You know, you can't come here and say, here is God. That's not fair. But Krishna does say, you know, Sarvadhamam parichaja, mam ekam, sharanam braja. Just give it all up, mate. Chuck it in. Here he is, Krishna. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So wonderful, no? And all of us, I think, must have experienced this, you know, this, you know, elevation to Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada wrote a book, elevation. And you realize, because, you know, Bhagavatam, in the beginning, Vedanti tat tat bhavidas, tat brahmyajnanam advaya, brahmati paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti samjute. The learned transcendentalists know this non-dual substance in three features. Brahmati paramatmeti, Bhagavan. Brahman is impersonal feature of God. Brahman, paramatmeti, the all-pervading aspect is in everyone's atom, in every atom, in everyone's heart, localized. It's in a place. And in Bhagavan, the personal feature, just like Prabhupada gives the example, like sometimes you're walking across, I don't know if you can walk here, across these flat plains around Columbus. It's very flat here. But in Nepal, where I spent many years preaching, there's what's called the Terai. It joins up with North Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, which is very flat over the border of Nepal. It's very flat. So you can actually walk across the plains, and then you see in the distance the grayish, bluish mountains coming out like a haze almost. So some form is there. And then as you get closer and closer, then you begin to see features on the hills. And then when you actually climb on the mountain, there's houses, trees, there's, you know, rocks, and there's people and everything there. So this is an example of how we can understand God according to our realization. You see, we have our realization of God. Pantheism, for instance. When I was a child, you know, I used to believe in Jesus also, and I used to climb to the top of trees on a windy day, and the wind's blowing, and it's, you know, nature so powerful, so exhilarating, trees and the wind. And I used to pray to God, what is the purpose of me? What am I doing here? What's going on? So somewhere in my heart there's a personal feature. But then the exhilarating mountains, the Himalayas, the oceans, the river, standing on the beach, looking at the ocean, hearing the waves. This is a very impersonal, pantheistic idea of God. And this is like a preliminary idea, the glory of God, the greatness of God. And that's there in Bhagavad Gita. It's also explained. And Bhagavad Krishna explains it. You know, Rasaham Apsakunteya, Pravasmi Sachi Surya. I am the taste and water, Krishna says. I am the light of the sun and moon. So, you know, Krishna's trying to pulling us out. Okay, everyone knows the taste of water, but it's me. I am the light of the sun and moon. It's me. So, you know, this Bhagavad Gita and Prabhupada's Sankirtan movement, Vajrayana Sankirtan movement, it has come in Kali Yuga, where we're, especially in the West, Prabhupada, Nirvisesha Sunyavadi, we really believe that, you know, we can merge with God. And it's true. You know, I'm not this body. I'm consciousness. So can only be at home with the greater consciousness, but this very impersonal concept. Yeah. So there's another example Prabhupada gives, it's nice actually, from India. He says when they first introduced the railways, actually it could have been in East Africa, because they laid a railway line. It's called the Idiot Line. The local people used to call it the Idiot Line, because it was crazy. They had to lay this railway line from Mombasa to Nairobi to exploit all the raw materials, the British line. The British were famous. The Prabhupada made it. I'm from England. Prabhupada made a joke about the British. You ever heard that joke? Why did the British spread their empire all over the world? Nobody could answer it. Why did the British spread their empire all over the world? Because they wanted to enlighten them with Christianity. Well, what was the answer? They wanted to educate the people, make them eat with knives and forks on tables for the good of the world. Why did they do it? Because they only had potatoes at home. They're tired of eating potatoes. So they, when Sir Walter Raleigh bought some spices, cumin and some nice tasty things, asafoetida, mustard oil, something nice. You guys, you better become pirates. You're going to take over the world. That's the story of the British Empire. Excuse me, Boris Johnson. And they even tried to take over America, but America kicked them out. So this is the British story of the British rascals. So then, anyhow, I don't know how we got to the British Empire. But Brahmati Paramatmi Bhagavan. So we want to merge. It's instinctive actually. We feel we're part of something great. So we want to become one. And there's a verse. Vicharaja Bhaya Kroda Mam Maya Mama Pasita Bhava Putamad Bhava Magata. That being free from attachment, fear and anger. We fear our individual identity. Therefore, because we're suffering so much in this body, if somebody tells you, oh, you're eternal, oh, I don't want that, thank you very much. I'd rather merge and become not me. I'd rather have spiritual suicide. That's better. But actually, the bliss of spiritual suicide, becoming one with God, is not so much. Because there's no personality. You see? So in this village, the train was coming, and the villagers heard, the train is coming. They saw the railway line. Railway line is laying the railway tracks. Everyone in the village was thinking, watch the train. We don't know what the train is. So they're speculating like anything. So one boy said, I'm going to check it out. So he ran down the line a few miles. They saw this like dark thing coming up the hill and some smoke. So then he ran back to the village. Hey, it's like a snake. It's a snake with black stuff coming out the top. Oh, the village said, wow, the train's like a black snake. So then another guy said, oh, that's not enough. I want to know more. So he ran down again. He heard a noise. There's steam engines in those days. And yet there's a noise. And it's black. It's true, it's black and smoke. He ran back to it. It's a noise. It's making black smoke. And it's moving along. Coming closer. Oh, villages. Simple villages, So then finally the train came into the station. As people people in the carriage, the guy stoking the coal into the engine. So this, the idea is that in this verse we're hearing that Shukadeva Goswami was merged in impersonal realization. And somewhere it says, maybe Brahma Vaivata Puran, he was within the womb for 16 years. Or is it 16 years? Within the womb of his mother. And he just wanted to stay there. I don't know how he didn't get bigger and bigger, and then there was an explosion, you know. If you got bigger and bigger for 16 years, how could the mother stay pregnant? It's impossible not to give birth. But anyhow, he must have had, you know, mystic power to stay small and not want to be born. That's the only way I can explain it. But then his father he knew that his son was a liberated soul. He was already merged in his monistic conception. I am spirit, God is spirit, so we are one. The Beatles made a song, right? I am you, you are me, we are one together. John Lennon. John Lennon was more of an impersonalist than George Harrison. But you heard the story of John Lennon when he was assassinated? You heard that story? You don't know the Beatles, no? The next generation. Probably John Lennon and Yoko Ono had some conversations with Prabhupada, but they were very much impersonal. But they did hear Hare Krishna, and George Harrison was a devotee. Devotee said, Prabhupada, George Harrison should get initiated. And you know what Prabhupada said? He's already Hari's son. He's already Hari's son. Why should he get initiated? So anyway, when I saw this house where John Lennon was living in New York, and they came back late at night from some gig or other with Yoko, and he got out the car, and this guy, I don't know his name, shot him point blank range. So then, moved to the local hospital. There was a grihasta couple, married couple of ISKCON. Their child was sick, so they were going to the hospital because their child was sick. And then John Lennon came in on a trolley, on a stretcher. And you know what Yoko said? She said, "Look, John," before he died. "Look, John, it's the Hare Krishnas." So the last thing he heard before he died was Hare Krishna. Yeah. So then, it was Krishna's mercy. Holy name is so powerful. But within the holy name, everything is there. The first realization is the name. And then, as we advance in Krishna consciousness, then, actually Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained this. It's called the Nam, in his marketplace of the holy name. That if you want to get Krishna, it depends on your faith. You may have faith in the impersonal. Okay, that's good. There's nothing bad about that. You're not a demon, but you're a transcendentalist. The learned transcendentalists, the spiritualists, searching after the truth. They know God in three features: impersonal, localized, Paramatma, and then Bhagavan. So the realization of primary realization is in the name, and in the marketplace of the holy name, which Lord Nityananda established. That's like a 1 paisa coin in India, 1 paisa. How you can say 1 cent? Let's say $1, 10 cents, 10 cents, 10 cents. So then, with that 10-cent faith, you can get the impersonal realization. You see? And then, when you got 50. What's a dime? How much is a dime? A dime. So then $50. Your faith is like $50. then you can get Krishna's name and form. You can purchase it with that much faith. It's Bhaktivinoda's explanation. And then, if your faith is more like $1 or maybe $10, $50, I don't know. I think that's important. And if the faith is more, it's like silver coin, and you can get Krishna's name, his form, and his qualities. And then, when you've got a gold coin, $100 or whatever it is, you can get Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. So it is a gradual process of realization. And for many people, it's too much, For here come the Hare Krishnas, here is God. So it's like, what do you mean, here is God? You Hare Krishnas, there are Hindus who worship many gods. We don't believe in many gods, God is one. So there's a long, this has to be studied. Therefore, Prabhupada wrote these books, Science of God, from the beginning to the end, from Bhagavad Gita, then of course there's Ishopanishad, which is, if you've not read Ishopanishad, that leads us on from, impersonalism to personalism. And then of course Bhagavad Gita also does. And then of course Srimad Bhagavatam, there's many books, like True Devotion. Prabhupada wrote all these books for humanity. And in 1965 or 66, he was in New York and he wanted to incorporate ISKCON. Prabhupada wanted to say ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Haribol, I should have asked you. International Society for
Krishna
Consciousness, yes. So some people said, but I think we should be more, what's that word?
Broad-minded.
No, there's another word. There's another word. I've forgotten it now. It's a really good word. Huh? Anyway, you know what I'm trying to say already. Why not God consciousness? I said, no, we don't want God consciousness. All these rogues and rascals will come and give their own idea of God. Why do we want to hear from them of their own idea of God? We know who is God. Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if they don't like it, we can teach them. That's our mission. So that's what we're doing. That's the Hare Krishna movement. And it's sometimes troublesome. I wasn't there when Prabhupada came to Hitchcock Hall and gave his class. But I'm sure he was. Is Hitchcock one?
Yes.
Hitchcock Hall. I wasn't there. You've heard the lecture? I can try and hear it. I got all of Prabhupada's lectures. I'll look up Columbus. I expect he's introducing Krishna consciousness to lead us up to understand Krishna. Allen Ginsberg, yeah. Allen Ginsberg was impersonalist, definitely. Maybe one of us was. I was a Gyani. I was a sculptor. And I used to meditate for hours and hours on matter and have to make it together. But I was always trying to figure out, how does consciousness fit in with this dead matter? What's the difference between me and dead matter? And so I was a Gyani. But when my friend told me, you're not that body, it rang a bell, from maybe previous life. You're not that body. Because he'd been to the Soho Street Temple, the Berry Place Temple in London, but stayed for a few days with devotees. So he came down to see me. He told me, you're not that body. He told me other things. So I actually thought, at that time I become kind of stunned. It was like a lift, you know. I actually existed, you know, separately from this body. I was a person. So it was a step up. Then I surrendered. So he said, okay, chant Hare Krishna. So I started chanting it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
So by the time I went through the mantra, I thought, wow, this is something in this. It's different. A different kind of high, different kind of happiness. It's something personal, actually. And I started to feel satisfied. And my friends, you know, we were all in peace. And I said, what's happened to him? He's got religion. He's got religion. Keep away from him. You know? And we may lose our sense gratification if we listen to him. So the same with many, I'm not special. So many devotees, they got the taste of a personal relationship with God through chanting and seeing the deities coming to the temple. I remember the first time, when I hear this story, I went the first time I saw the deities in London, because I was a sculptor and artist. I was always thinking, got to make beautiful things, and maybe it'll help people and to realize something. Because I was impersonal, how could I help them? Anyway, making all this. But I've been chanting, and actually I had some realization that all the beautiful things I made were just to impress my common law wife, my partner. So when she went up with another man, so I smashed everything. I thought, this is a waste of time. Chuck it all in. So it's true, actually. It's a long story. But then I eventually got to London Temple. I went to Mangalarti, and then the curtains opened. And there I saw Radha Landanishwara. And of course, the same persons. Radha Ladabara, same person, beautifully dressed, flowers, singhasan, everything, you know. And then I thought, wow. I tried to make beautiful things for years and years, paint beautiful things, and, but now I can understand. To be an artist means to give people the beauty of Krishna, Radha and Krishna, the beauty of the holy name. Let them appreciate. The Bhai Sankirtan is the best artist. You're bringing people to Krishna, the most beautiful object. That's the real art. That's the real duty of the artist. And this was art was always religious art. It was to paint Lord Jesus, Mother Mary and Lord Jesus, the triptychs, go to Italy, then it became the Renaissance, then became more and more impersonal, as the so-called scientific, discoveries came about. So now Prabhupada's made a new renaissance. It brings us back to the personal conception of God. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Thank you very much. Any questions, please? When's Prasanam? Yes. That's a real question. As Malachi said yesterday, what's for Prasanam? That's the real question. I said, well, in New Vrindavan there was very nice mango chutney. So I like that, especially with the khichdi. So question time, please. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj, for such an amazing lecture. My question is, sometimes my mind says maybe all these scriptures like I don't have a faith. I don't have a lot of faith. So my mind says maybe what if these all scriptures are just to lure my mind or just to like make my mind engaged in the studies, but it is not true. So how can I get that faith, Maharaj?
Only by him. Naishamatistavadarukramangam Ahisampadajo. This was explained to by Prahlad Maharaj to his father. You can't make a non-devotee by force into a devotee. Not by having big conferences, not by reading books, by anything. By himself. Mahiya Samraja. You must get the dust of the mercy of the pure devotee, a kinchana, that has no material desires. You see, it's the only way. Therefore, that's what Hare Krishna movement is about. We're trying to get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada by pleasing him, serving him, doing something for him, getting his blessings. It's the only way our faith will increase. Otherwise, you think, yeah, Bhagavad Gita, just another book. Who is this Krishna anyway? He had 16,108 wives. He may be a bit better than me. I can only have one wife, 2 girlfriends. This is a material concept of life. So we need the mercy, Prabhupada gave us mercy. And that's why we're here. So because He's giving us a personal conception of the Lord. For the first time, maybe in many, many lifetimes. So therefore, naturally, we have doubts. Prabhupada said, I was hearing, somebody asked him, Prabhupada, when we're not feeling enthusiastic, what to do? Prabhupada gave 2 answers, maybe at different times. He said, well, if you drop your key in a pond, so you have a pond like a bomb crater or something, there's a pond. You drop your key in the pond. If you keep stirring around trying to catch it, all the mud will come up, and you won't spot the key. So you have to sit quietly and let the mud settle. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare.
and then there's the key. Another thing Prabhupada said, he said that if you're unenthusiastic, it's because we have doubts. We have doubts that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because we are brought up impersonally, we have so many doubts. And so we have to get rid of those doubts. And that's why Prabhupada wrote all these books. To hear about Krishna, just like Shukadeva Swami was in the womb of his mother. But his father, Vyasadeva, was writing Srimad Bhagavatam. All about the personal feature of the Lord. So then he became attractive. Krishna means all attractive. So even Atmaramas Jamunayo, those who are completely self-situated in personal Brahman, even they become attracted. Wow, I'll take birth because I want to tell people about Krishna. I'll tell you. And then he was born, Shukadeva Goswami. So when he was born, he left home. He left home without taking the Brahmin thread ceremony. His father came running, hey, come back. Hey, come back, my son. And only the trees echoing, my son, my son. He was gone. Because he wanted to tell everyone about Krishna. It's true, his whole civilization is totally impersonal and totally, how do you say, dissatisfied. And so we have to eat, we have to do all simple activities to get a bit of pleasure. You know, illicit sex, gambling, meat eating, gambling, what's the other one? Intoxication. We're trying to squeeze some pleasure on this temporary body. We don't even know we're not this body. We're so fallen, you know. On Harinam Ruchi party, we were in Miami, you know, and people there really, they love intoxication. And everyone's stoned or they're drunk, you know, they're far gone, really far gone. But here we come, boom, 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 heavy rhythm, you know. Prabhupada said rhythm is the universal religion. So people start tapping and dancing, you know, especially Afro-Americans. And Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. They take to it, dancing and singing. And they may be the most sinful people, prostitutes, drug pushers, you know, all kinds of people. You can say degraded people. Everyone in this world is degraded. Maybe fifth class prisoners, fourth class prisoners, third class prisoners. We may think I'm a first class prisoner. I was born in India. I'm a Hindu. I'm a first class prisoner. Actually, you're a prisoner, mate. You gotta get out of this place. You got any brains, you gotta surrender to Krishna. You know, the material world you can't escape from unless you surrender to Krishna. Ameve Prabhajante Miami Tantra. Ganesis Caspian. So in Miami especially, really heavy crowd, they came around dancing, doing the most crazy, disgusting dances you can imagine. It was like pornographic dancing, but you know, hardly wearing any clothes because they just come from the beach. I'll say no more. But they're getting the holy name, you know, dancing and singing. And after they danced and sang, then the book distributors come along. Yeah, it's happening here on the main street also. We were going along the main street in Columbus, and very nice. Actually, who was there just last night? Yeah, they were same thing. You know? The rhythm, you get them to tap the feet, tap the hand, dancing, Hare Krishna, and you know, and the thing starts to take off. And before they know, well, you know, they've got a book in their hand and they're giving a donation. It's really nice. Sankirtan movement is very nice. And that seed of bhakti, will never be lost in their whole life. And that'll save them. Nehavikramanasasti, right? Shavaya navijite. Svalpam even that little bit. Okay. You know, a bit of association with Prabhupada's Mahamantra. Prabhupada's given us his Mahamantra. We're just carrying it. It's not that, you know, I'm a pure ISKCON devotee or anything. But Prabhupada's told us to go on Harinam and distribute the books, distribute Prasada, open temples. This is all Prabhupada's mercy. So we can change the whole world. I went to see the farm. And you took me to the farm. We just went to see the farm. 50 acres. It's a little bit way out of town, 10 minutes out of town. It can be a beautiful place. It can be a beautiful place to attract people to Krishna. Like a park, Goshala, and go down here. Maybe some lakes even. And have a swan. You know, boat festival. And agriculture. I was saying, you know, on these fields you can grow so much grains, you can sell them to New Vrindavan. New Vrindavan, you know, there's so many hills there, you can hardly grow anything. Forests and hills. Hey, you have flat land. You can be self-sufficient, 45, 50 acres of land. You can sell organic wheat, sell organic cabbages, whatever else you can maintain, the temple, the deeds, buy more land, a self-efficient community. Prabhupada wanted that. You know, this whole civilization is unsustainable. And I think it was in 72, was it 82, must have been 70. Prabhupada said this civilization will be finished in 50 years. It's unsustainable. It's just based on paper money. There's no gold. It's all dead. Nobody has any real wealth anymore. It's bound to collapse. And so people will get hungry. The supermarkets will be empty. You go to, what's that? To Costco and the other one? Walmart. Sorry, nothing in here. No veg, no rice. Okay, we'll sell you TV set, but you can't eat the TV set. We'll sell you a mobile phone, but it doesn't taste very nice. Maybe they'll make edible phones one day. In trouble, they can eat them, you know. So then, people are going to come, So Hare Krishna's got a place outside Columbus. I'm feeling hungry. I'll be walking from Columbus out there. Give me something to eat, And so in work, I'll do anything. Just, let me. Will you chant Hare Krishna? Okay. I'll do anything if I get a full belly. Okay, chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So this may happen, Prabhupada said. So that's 2022. It's coming up 50 years from 72, 50 years. Make it probably come true. Everything collapsed. Now they've got COVID, and everyone's panicking. They don't realize it. It's just another form of death. I asked my disciple to do some research. From Yashwini Sachi Devi, she's the secretary. She did some research. I said, tell me the global death rate per minute. 107. She went through the internet. 107 people die every minute on this planet. And I said, well, now give me the global death rate of COVID per minute. 12. So that means, out of 107 people who die every minute, only 12 die of COVID. So why is it a pandemic? Why are we all worried? Death's there anyway. Krishna says, Mrityu Savas Charam. I'm all devouring death. But people have been scared by propaganda. Prabhupada on the morning book says, you can't do anything with propaganda. That's what the British did in India. With propaganda, they made the Indian people think we're useless. Only things from London are good. From London is good. Manchester cloth. They've been making cloth for thousands of years with their own hands, weaving cloth with their own hands. But by propaganda and, guns and governmental force, people begin to believe anything. Now people begin to believe this pandemic, this vaccine. We've always been dying of flu. We're recovering from flu. Everyone knows you get the flu. You get some hot water, you put the cloth over your head, inhale the hot steam, the flu goes away. So it's just a big panic, When you read the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, divine and demoniac natures. They're demons. Why should we find them? People. My usual job, I don't take the vaccine. No, people are cheap. They follow. You should force you. Papa says, how to get the sheep into a slaughterhouse. You take one sheep and push him through the hole, and all will follow. No one has any brains. So Prabhupada is written Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. He gives us brains, gives us intelligence. The goal of life, the purpose of life. So Vaipum Sampravodamo, the Tobhakti Adakshas, Ahaitikya Pratiyata, the atmosphere proceeds. The supreme occupation for all humanity is that by which man can attain to uninterrupted, unmotivated devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. That alone will completely satisfy the self. This is the best thing for humanity. So thank you very much. How are we doing for time? Time for more questions? Or when do we have to go to the airport? We're leaving. And too cold here. We're going to have to go there. Yeah.
Maharaj, is about impersonal, because God is all pervading. If you take him to be a person, it is very difficult because it's localized. But if God is all pervading, then personal feels more because energy is all pervading. And if you say person, then it's very, there are limitations of a person because I think of a person as myself. And that's why most people can't accept. And also, you're saying the fear of relationship with a person. And so that's a major obstacle for many to accept. And that this person is breathing out universes from the pores of his body. We have never heard of I've never experienced such a thing in our life. So
Yeah.
it's all
Prabhupada gave a very good example. You can use this example to teach people that every living being has some Shakti, Chincha Shakti, inconceivable power. So if we are a person, okay, we just assume that I have an identity, I'm a person. If we say you, me, I, and my mother and father. Okay, accepting that I'm a person. I also have my byproducts. If I run a mile, I start sweating, 2 miles or something. So many ounces of water come from my body, salty water. Okay, I'm a minute infinitesimal, 1/10,000 size the tip of a hair, spirit soul. And I'm producing so many ounces of water. What's the problem to think a much bigger spirit soul consciousness cannot produce much more water, much more chemicals? You see, that probably gives example of the lemon tree. The lemon tree is producing so much citric acid in the form of lemons, tons and tons. Lemons, if you have a lemon orchard, you've got tons of citric acid. But if those trees are dead, there's nothing, just dead wood. So, matter comes from life. It's simple realization. If a baby in the womb is, stillborn, they scan the mother. I'm very sorry, my disciple. It's horrible, actually. I really disgusting. They scanned the woman, scanned it, pregnant. They said, sorry, baby's dead. Horrible. So, won't go into details. The baby won't grow unless there's life. These simple scientific observations are enough for an intelligent person to realize, the personality is fundamental. Consciousness of what? My consciousness. When someone pricks your finger, you feel it. You're a person. You can't say the finger's feeling it. My finger's My finger's feeling the prick of my, you say, no, I feel it. Me, I'm feeling the pain. Everyone feels pain. You know you're painful. You're a person. But because we're suffering so much, we think, you know, that if I can lose my personality, then I'll be happy. That's why we take alcohol and drugs, blow our mind. But really, actually, you can see, especially, you know, where do we get our real happiness is in relationship. Mother and father, friends, lovers. And people keep a cat and dog. They love their cats and love their dogs. Have a relationship that makes them happy. So why God shouldn't be, you know, the best relationship? But there's so many arguments to defeat the person. If I put you in an empty house all alone, will you be happy? Maybe when your child's around. Get away from everyone. But if you don't have rounds, you go crazy with my mobile phone. You start going on Facebook, on betting on my friends. What does Facebook mean? It means you want friends, you want relationship. But it's instinctive. But all these relationships, because it's bodies. So where is a permanent relationship of love? That's what everyone really wants. So that's what this Mahamantra is giving. Actually, it's funny. When we get people to chant, many times, maybe like almost 50%, 40%, people just crack up. They just start laughing, hysterically almost like this. They can't control themselves. I saw it last night. Somebody just started laughing. I asked one psychiatrist, devotee, I said, what's happening when that happens to people? It's like almost like an epileptic fit. They just start laughing. They said it's a release of tension. There's so much anxiety in the body. And when they start chanting, and they hear the holy name, and they're expected to chant, they just become overwhelmed with actually kind of ecstasy. At last, you know, you're getting something valuable, maybe after millions of lifetimes. You're getting something, and the soul reacts, and it's like an ecstatic symptom. It's amazing. After some time of laughing, it comes to the end, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. It's amazing, actually. And by doing this, we also get so much feeling of happiness. So that this person is challenging, and you get the energy coming back from it. And so this kind of sanctity is very nice. Everyone should go on Hare Rama. How much Hare Rama you do every week? Every Friday. That's funny. In summer, we went down, it was like winter today. You can do it in it's cold. Trouble is the windows. We try to get people to chant through the window. I was thinking it could be like a scientific thing. You could stick on the window like a round, and then put it on the window, and then Hare Krishna come through the glass. Is that possible? Any scientists? Some kind of loudspeaker things put on the window, like a rubber sucker, you know. Hare Krishna. Then inside they get high. If we were chanting Hare Krishna, there's maybe some music inside. But the main thing is you can do your scientists to invent them. But yeah, it's a fight, it's a struggle. Preaching means a struggle. Prabhupada said, We're declaring war on Maya. Maya is, I am God. I am in joy. I am God. And, okay, I'm spirit. But then the next snare of Maya, I want to merge with God, merge with personal. There's a fight people don't want, but with this rhythm, universal religion, Prabhupada said, rhythm is universal religion, Mukunda. In his book, Miracle and Second Heaven. So it's rhythm moving and then clapping, all simple reactions go away. Mention next few. People clap their hands, there's the holy one. Simple reactions are going away like crows. Crows from a garbage dump. So then get them to say the Mahamant. Everyone can do that. It's possible for everyone to do that. People think Maharaj is so special. It's not true. Everyone, can taste that nectar of sanctity. And everyone was yesterday, in ecstasy all over the street. It's like, that's what I was thinking. You see, this is a real party. People want to go to a party and they blow their minds on drugs and everything else. The real Sankirtan party is the best. Cheap also, you don't have to buy anything. You have to buy a bottle of beer. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada King. Can I sing a song now? Hare Krishna, Nanda Kumara.
Hare Krishna, Nanda
Nanda Kumara, Madana Gopala.
Nanda Kumara, Madana Gopala, Madana Gopala, Mohana Rupa, Goa Rupa, Nanda Kumara. Govinda Hare Gopala Hare Govinda Hare Gopala Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare